Hello, welcome. The NES Classic is out. Look at it, it's so cool. And I've just played through all 30 of the games in the past few days, just for the fun of it and to see what's still good and what's not, what's aged really badly or what still has that timeless appeal. But regardless, the impact this collection and the consoles had on gaming as a whole is undeniably huge. We've got starts of all kinds of crazy stuff here. We've got Mario, Metroid, Zelda, Castlevania, Final Fantasy. I'm going to go through all 30 of the games now in an alphabetical order, spending no more than 30 seconds to a minute on each. And we'll just lift off with Balloon Fight. Let's go. It's a 1 or 2 player action game, just defeat all the enemies on the screen, move on to the next stage. It does have limited appeal now. I mean, I was bored after about a quarter of an hour, but the 2 player element, me and my mate played it in a more recent past together, and that does add a bit more longevity, but even then, it's not one of the ones you're gonna go back to, I don't think. This, on the other hand, is the second game mode that's got a more modern appeal in the mould of an endless runner. You've got to avoid the deadly stars. And if you get hit once, then you're dead, so it's got that kind of high score factor and addictiveness. High score is a big element of a lot of this collection because of the age of the games and the arcade origins of many of them. Speaking of which, this is Bobble, another arcadey action platformer, a classic in many regards. It's definitely got its own charm. You can see that here, but the music's so repetitive I couldn't get over that. But apparently, if you can, there is 100 levels to get through, and it's also one of the first games I discovered in my research to have multiple endings, which is pretty cool, but it's not for me. But we'll move on to one of the big guns now. This is Castlevania, an action platformer by good old Konami, and what can I say other than this game is quality. It's sick, innit? One of the few games in the collection I hadn't played before, but when I did, I got sucked in by its finely tuned gameplay, its nice graphics and its brilliant music. I mean, the locations are always interesting, the enemies are diverse with a wide variety of behaviours as opposed to the same AI with a different sprite, and it's a solid, like pretty much every game in this collection, challenge, but it feels fair overall. And there's a few dodgy platform bits that border on cruel, but it's easily one of the best games in the whole collection without a doubt. And you've got your bosses as well. There's a nice variety of power-ups throughout the game, like swords and holy water and boomerangs to go with your iconic whip. We'll move on to the sequel now. Let's have a look at that. Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. It's also a fine game. The core gameplay is the same, but it feels different now as it's non-linear and there's RPG elements that have been added as well. There's also a day and night cycle of enemies getting harder at night and towns closing their shops, which is impressive. And the main problem is backtracking really and figuring out what to do, because the town people give you these really cryptic clues, and playing without a manual or the internet seems, well, it's really difficult, which is probably why I prefer the first. But those elements are seen as part and parcel of the game from this period to many people, so it may not bother everyone. Bit of in-town drug dealing there. Yeah, and the eyeballs in Terraria look exactly like the ones here, which can't be a coincidence, so I think that's discovered a nice nod to the past from the Terraria developers. It's Donkey Kong next, an important one. It's one of the 3 NES launch titles, so it's historic for that reason, but the main reason it's known is because it's Mario's debut in games. I mean, how crazy is that? He's called Jumpman here, he's not even called Mario yet. Which also makes it Shigeru Miyamoto's first full game project by default. I mean, how iconic and historic can you get? And the game still feels nice too, it's smooth and the controls are tight as a drum. This is the second of the 3 launch titles. The third one's Popeye, but it's not in this collection, but this is Donkey Kong Jr. This has got a nice twist, because Mario, he's now known as Mario, is the bad guy, so you've got to rescue your dad as a chunky Diddy Kong from him. I see his testicles by the branch there, dangling on the tree. But yeah, it's still rather much to play Donkey Kong. It's weird how this game's kind of been largely forgotten, really, from what I can gather. It's just more of a curiosity. It's just a nice twist to see Mario as a bad guy, the only game that he is as well. Oh, no, this is a blast from the past. I used to love this game in Double Dragon 2. You only beat him up in the collection as well. You'll definitely have a blast playing this through 2-player. But when you are playing it, you can't help thinking about all the quality 16-bit beat 'em ups, so it's difficult to come from those and come back to this and enjoy it fully, because it has aged significantly, but there is still plenty of cool moments, like his flying kick. Whee! Always love this bit, except when that happens. And this bit in a helicopter with the door opening and trying to pull you outside. But don't ask me what's going on with a guy with a giant head. It's mental. See you later. Oh, and check this as well. You have a fight with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. That's definitely him. I battered him anyway. Ah, bloody Dr. Mario. Never liked it. Just can't believe this is in the collection and Tetris is not. I'm really gutted about that. I know it's strongly associated with NES for this, and Tetris is more of a Game Boy, but Tetris still sold shed loads on the NES. It's got to line up the colours either horizontally or vertically, and then clear them, move on to the next level. It's the only puzzle game in the collection as well, so if you love your puzzlers, this is where you need to head. On to racing now with Excitebike. It's too basic these days to be of any value really. You may play it for a short while, but the cooler bit is the track designer, which is proper space age when I was a kid. It was crazy. You could make your own levels and try them out. I mean, here's mine in action for what I just did, but it didn't work out very well. It wasn't very well made. I'll leave it to developers in the future, but yeah, that'll take up more of your time than the single player, I think. And here we have another one of the heavy hitters, it's Final Fantasy. Whoa, the start of a truly epic series, yeah. I mean, it's got everything you want, expect, or need to put up with as such a trailblazing early RPG, so expect choosing your right class, yeah, different classes of you, different people, all the different strengths and weaknesses, going through villages to get your gear, sort your kit out, the familiar save the world princess story, an overworld of random encounters, too many if you ask me, so be ready to get your grind on. Turn-based combat, which feels a bit slow these days, but I love RPGs, so it was really cool to play one that I hadn't played before that popularised the genre, or helped to, along with things like Ultima and Dragon Quest. So yeah, really cool. It's back to the arcade with the next one. We've got Galaga, a very famous arcade game of course. I've always seen it as a more advanced version of Space Invaders, which is what it is basically, as you can see. And that either sounds good to you or it does not, but its legacy, is without question, but it doesn't really appeal to me anymore. Back to platform world now. Now we've got one with run and gun elements as well. This is Bloody Ghost and Goblins, yeah. It's got a reputation for being one of the hardest games ever made, yeah, and it's fully deserved. It's ridiculous, yeah. I can't get it past the first level. Had about 10 goes or so. You get to this devil guy at the end, yeah. And I just don't know how to beat him. And the enemies are constant as well. They just keep coming left and right, so you have to keep moving forward. And they appear above, they go underground and come back at you, which is quite clever, but you only get 2 hits as well. When you die, you start right back again at the beginning of the level. People do enjoy this kind of brutal difficulty. I like it in Dark Souls and more modern games, but not in the platformers. It just feels unfair. I mean, this is the devil guy. And the crow, see, once you get hit, you lose your armour, and then that's it then. You're just naked, and it's just, I just don't know how to avoid him. I did have another go, or this is one of my several attempts. It's just, man, every time he gets me. So I just gave up. But then again, you'll go on YouTube and you'll see people doing the whole game without losing a hit, but there's always nutters in the world. This is Gradius, another famous arcade shooter, which I expected to like more than I did, as I do enjoy a bit of R-Type, but a little bit flat in comparison, definitely less jazz, and less pleasing on the eye. I mean, the power-up system's got more depth, but I like to play shooters like this, I don't to think too much, just turn it on and start shooting everything, so that's not a positive to me. It did remind me of another game in the genre I would have preferred to see, 1942 quality game. We've reached the collection's low point for me now. This is vertical platformer Ice Climber. You've got to clear the way of bricks to move upwards and club your enemies if you come near. I tell you, they've got really good agents, the stars of this video game, because they've been featured in the modern Smash Bros. Games, even though this game is crap. And it's probably only on this collection because of that as well, but Japanese version had seals you could club, by the way, like that, that removed in later editions. I mean, the controls are terrible, the music's really annoying. Have a look at this collision detection. Terrible. And it's just generally boring, it adds no value to this collection, it's no good. However, this vertical platformer, Kid Icarus, is good, sort of. It's a Greek mythical fantasy theme, it's definitely got a lot of charm, and the music reinforces it, and it feels generally nice. And because of that, and the smooth transition between the screens when you get to the top, it just makes you want to keep going up just to see what's there, yeah. But the charm, however, cloaks a brutal level of difficulty. See, I was playing along like this, la 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 la, till I realised, flip, I haven't gone any further for ages, I just kept dying, I just kind of snapped out of it. Yeah, it's brutally hard. It just makes you wonder how the general high level difficulty of this whole collection is going to play with younger gamers or a different generation, because it is a bit mental, a lot of these games. It's unpredictable as well. You go in there, go into this room now, there's loads of question marks in them and it's a reward. And other times there's nothing in them at all, and sometimes just loads of crazy enemies just start kicking off for no reason. It's a pretty unpredictable game, you don't really know what's going to happen. Considering you're an angel as well, I would have thought he'd be flying with his wings, maybe using the floaty tappy mechanic like Balloon Fight, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. It's just a curious game. Which would also be a word to describe Kirby. I've always found the inhale-exhale mechanic a bit weird. It's Kirby's Adventure, this, released very late in the NES's life, March 1993 in Japan. I mean, it's absolutely a good platformer, but damn, there's the original Mario trilogies playing this collection, man. I just couldn't shake that feeling, when I was playing it. Well, let's put the release date in perspective, yeah. The SNES had been out almost 3 years already, and the PlayStation's just over a year from release in Japan when this came out. Crazy. Mario hasn't blown up completely yet, but he's still got too big enough stage to have his own game, and this is Mario Brothers, and this is Luigi's debut in gaming full stop as well, you play with 2-player mode. It still feels nice to play, but be in for a shock if you instinctively try and jump onto an enemy's head to kill them, because Mario's not a head squasher yet. You'll actually hurt yourself unless you hit the platform directly underneath the enemy first. And there's a fair bit of teamwork and communication involved playing 2 players, so I think you'll have fun playing like that, especially when the levels get really manic later on. We've arrived at another heavyweight title now though, and only my second essential play so far in the collection after Castlevania. It's Mega Man 2, which is basically a lovely looking and finely tuned action platforming game for you to enjoy. It's not as difficult as the first, thankfully, but it's still damn hard, but it offsets that by letting you approach any of the distinctly themed levels freely, so beat the boss, which is the air level, and that's Airman for example, gain his ability, and then you can use it on other levels to possibly breeze through previously difficult obstacles with ease, so you can really experiment with your approach, and if you die, which you will a lot, you can return to a level later with a new power, and have a completely different outlook of it. For example, if I'd done the woods level first and then fought the air boss on the air level, I could have used the leaf shield to get leaves trapped in the boss's chest fan. I mean, how awesome is that? So it's uncommonly deep for a platform game. And to polish it off as well, you've got the superb soundtrack to enjoy, which is arguably the best on the whole console. The game as a whole is commonly regarded as the best Mega Man of all, so I just hope the difficulty doesn't obscure the class of this game for too many people, because I really enjoyed this, it's quality. Second heavyweight in a row, but one that's certainly less striking than it was, Metroid, but you can still feel how impressive its scope and emphasis on exploration would have been back in the day. Good old Morphe Ball continues to be one of the coolest power-ups in gaming, and the controls give you this feeling of agility that's a revelation compared to other games of the time, and most in this collection. My problem with Metroid is, even though it's not its fault, is that I played the exceptional Super Metroid first, and if you haven't played either for a modern comparison, imagine playing San Andreas and then going back to GTA 3 afterwards. Gameplay wise, be prepared to get utterly lost with no clue of where to go or what to do next, but that only increases the thrill, I suppose, of finding a new item to make you that little bit more powerful, which is all good really as a whole planet once you're dead as quickly as possible and at all times. So conquer that initial difficulty curve and experience a groundbreaking action game that was highly influential on what followed. Up next is only my third essential pick of the collection so far. It's Ninja Gaiden. You can start to feel fairly jaded after playing so many platform games, but its smooth and all-round coolness blow the cobwebs away. You're just a ninja shanking anything that moves, as you jump from walls and signposts to avoid danger and pounce on your enemy, slicing up dogs and men alike. But your character's posture gives it the feeling of speed as well, and a run and gun, despite there being no projectiles in sight except the odd ninja star. What adds to the coolness is how the plot is told between levels through dynamic and colourful comic-style scenes that contemporary critics felt made it feel like playing a movie, so all in all it's an extremely slick and well-presented game. Pac-Man is here. Originally released in 1980, it's possibly the most widely recognised game in the world, and still popular today. It's been ported to every platform under the sun. This NES one is perfectly nice, and the gameplay's timeless and it's still fun. Its legacy goes so deep. The Monster Maze power-up reach for next level structure influenced Doom and other early first-person shooters. The emphasis on avoiding enemies rather than fighting influenced Metal Gear, and therefore the stealth genre as a whole. And it's also the first game to have power-ups and cutscenes apparently, so it's safe to say that Pac-Man's a damn big deal. Basically, the ancestry of a cutting-edge FPS you're playing right now can be traced all the way back to this. Crazy. Punch-Out! Definitely one of the first games that spring to mind when you think of the NES. This is the Mr. Dream version, so Mike Tyson's not on here unfortunately. It's the first boxing game I ever played as well. And I've just realised I don't even know if I've even played another boxing game since, but it's still highly playable. There's a nice tactical aspect to the fighting, and you've got to dodge, attack, counter, and learn your opponent's patterns and respond accordingly. So the animation's really good, so it gives the game a lot of personality, and a meaty feel to the gameplay as well as each blow lands in a satisfying way. Referee Mario there. So yeah, it's a good game. Now this is an odd one, Startropics, a cult adventure game I'd never played before but heard loads about, so I was eager to finally give it a go. You arrive on a quirky tropical island, and it's a change from the usual kind of fantasy setting, to visit your archaeologist uncle, but you find he's gone missing, which leads you into a nearby cave, and it goes from there. What I found in the cave was basically an uninspiring Zelda clone, in which I had to kill enemies with my ancestral sword that was blessed by the gods and drenched in blood. No, sorry, I meant a yo-yo. Yeah, your main weapon's a yo-yo, so you just gotta kill slugs with a yo-yo to start with anyway, so sorry Startropics, he's supposed to be good, but that was enough for me, sorry. Which leads us on to a series that's got no interest in yo-yo violence, thankfully, and the only slugs in sight are the ones being popped from my massive gun. It's Super C, Contra 2 basically, which is a slice of notoriously difficult run and gun action, but the gameplay's really fun to compensate, but you will have to learn each step of the level to have any hope of surviving it. It's one of those kinds of games. So you can fire diagonally, which is always cool in a game of this kind of age. You can go prone, and you can power up your weapons to do all kinds of crazy stuff, so yeah, it's action-packed, but it's ludicrously hard. But still not as hard as Ghosts and Goblins though, that's just silly. And as we move into the final clump of games, you find the biggest games yet, including the most sacred trilogy, Super Mario Bros. Yeah, the original still among the best-selling games of all time, with 40 million sold, and its timeless gameplay mechanics are only surpassed by Mario himself in later games, including Super Mario Bros. 2. Set in Mario's dream now, you can select your character from Mario, Luigi, Toad and Peach. The jump style and vegetable throwing skills are important considerations when making your choice, as you don't kill enemies anymore by jumping on them, you've got to throw them away, or throw things at them. And this new stuff and the art style make it feel very different to the original, which is no surprise really, as this isn't even the original Super Mario Bros. 2, because it was considered too difficult for market outside of Japan, so a game called Doki Doki Panic was converted into what you see in front of you now, and the original Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually the Lost Levels game released on Mario All-Stars on the SNES, do you remember that? But yeah, this is another quality platformer, and the next sequel takes this quality and platforming to another level, just when you think it can't get any better, because it's Super Mario Bros. 3, my fourth essential play of this collection. It's everything you want in a platform game. It's solid feeling with excellent controls, it's got new abilities, hidden rewards, catchy music, lovely clean graphics and memorably designed levels, because playing for the first time in, bloody hell, maybe 20 years, I still remember including this, the warp jump. Because I'm behind the scenery now, which allows access to a secret area to warp to later worlds. I mean, there was no save option back in the day, was there? So you had to do this, or use a game genie to get to the last levels. An enormous amount of skills required to complete the game, whether you warp or not, because the gameplay is just so pure, it's such a joy to play and see again. Yeah. The best platformer of all time? Or is it Sonic? Only joking, only an absolute maniac would think that. I'm a Super Mario World man myself, but Mario 3 is absolutely on the same level, it's a masterpiece, yeah. Now this one's for predominantly American players, Tecmo Super Bowl. Now despite not having a clue what I was doing, I still really enjoyed it. All the mad tactical stuff is there, it's well presented, there's even a bit of digitised speech. Check his run I did. It's gonna be a touchdown! USA, USA, USA. So based on that, I'm thinking anyone with knowledge of the game, especially 2 players, should find this a blast. Sports games generally age really badly, I think, so it was a pleasant surprise to find this so playable. Lovely stuff. And here it is, Zelda, the NES Classic's flagship title along with Mario 3. The kind of game you put on the box to sell it. I mean, this is the start of a series that's enjoyed overwhelming levels of acclaim in its 30-year lifespan. 30 years! I mean, it has aged, but the nostalgia spell it casts is so strong, just hearing that title theme is enough to set you off. If you've not played it, then you have to experience the game that served as a template for all action-adventure RPGs and games ever since. There's much hot debate, of course, as to whether or not it even qualifies as an RPG, and if it isn't, then surely no other game has influenced a genre it doesn't belong to more than this. Like Metroid, released just months afterwards, it's a great early example of an open world, non-linear game, so be prepared to get stuck without knowing what to do next. I mean, you can just whip your phone out now, but back in the day, friends in the playground was a way to find things out, and I also had an A1 size piece of paper that I painstakingly drew every world square on as I went. I wish I still had that. This is what it's all about, just coming out of a dungeon, all hard with your new shit. Take that. We finished the rundown with Zelda 2, and like Mario 2, it's a notable departure from the original successful formula. We've now got an overworld, random encounters, settlements. I mean, Zelda's now an ambitious mix of RPG and platforming, and you interact with villagers. That's great advice for life there. And you can also sleep with prostitutes to regain life, but you can't run them over and take your money back, unfortunately. The dungeons play side on, and you can control the lifts. Yeah, look. Whoa. Whoa. Hello, haha. Yeah, and the combat has a nice ebb and flow to it, yeah, but the main negative in the whole game is when you die you think, oh, I'll just start from the dungeon top again, but no. You're sent right back to Zelda in the palace at the beginning of the game, meaning you need to walk all the way back to where you were before. I mean, what is that about? But despite this, Zelda 2 is a game that's only grown in stature over time, and it's my last must-play title in the collection. And that is it for the lot. 30 games done. Mental, it's a hard life. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like and consider subscribing. I mean, do you plan to buy the NES Classic as well, or do you already have it? I mean, what do you think? Or are you satisfied with a selection, or have a personal favourites missing? I'm sure there are. And here's the 2 main playlists on my channel as well. It's all about variety for me. Just sharing my love of games, man, from across the ages. Thank you very much for watching. I'm totally burnt out on 8-bit games now, so I'm going to play Witcher 3 for a bit to level out. So yeah, I'll hopefully see you again. So bye for now. Bye bye.